welcome back, guys. We are going to be working on our red today. We're going to jump right in because these are longer than we expect. So we have Abandon the Post. We have a sorcery for 2 mana. Up to 2 target creatures can't block this turn with flashback. We see this kind of effect a lot. Sorcery speed is fine because you want to do it before they have the chance to block anyway. That's kind of irrelevant. It's cheap enough. But these effects are usually not very good unless you're in the most aggressive deck in the format.
Yeah, I almost never play these cards, which doesn't surprise you from the way I tend to draft. But, there's a place for them in that really aggressive deck, or, if you have a format where you have spells matter type things. But other than that, I don't see playing this card.
Yeah, I like it a little bit more because it does have flashback, so you get a little bit more use. Oftentimes, if you're not using this for the lethal attack, then you're just screwed. But because it has flashback, you can kind of use it twofold to get in a little chip damage, and then the next one is likely to be lethal or more likely to be lethal, and that's kind of cute. So, I think this is definitely playable in that one aggressive deck, but for the most part, we're going to avoid this. This is like a 2, maybe a 2/5 if you have only that deck.
Yeah, I think it's even in that deck, it's only a 2, and I think it's, pretty much unplayable outside of that deck.
Yeah, definitely. All right, we have an Elementalist, 2/1 for 4 mana, Human Shaman. We do see humans in every single color so far, so that is important to note. When the Elementalist enters the battlefield, return target instant or sorcery from your graveyard to your hand. So it's got a bit of an expensive rate, but it doesn't do any like the rolling stuff, doesn't put it back on top of your library like we've seen. So you are getting some sort of card advantage for that premium card advantage, right?
Yeah, that's a really expensive 2/1. And if that said, 3 in a red 2/1 draw card, that still would seem really expensive. Because we're used to seeing that for like 3 mana.
Yep.
But because you get to pick and choose like your best spell that you've used, which you're in red, so it's probably a reasonable removal spell, that makes this kind of playable.
Yeah, definitely. And another thing to note about this is like the value of this is going to be stronger the more removal you have. The more quality spells, instants, and sorceries you have, the better this will be and the more likely you are to run it. I would say the average deck is probably okay to run 1, but then there's going to be some decks you don't want it, and then some decks you're like, yeah, I'd like 2, and be pretty happy with it. So this is sort of a mid-rangey card for me. What do you think? I'm thinking like a 2.5 with some up and downside.
Yeah, I think you're looking at a 2 or a 2/5. I think with red, if you're like in red white or red green, this probably trends towards 2, and if you're
2.
red blue or red black, it's probably a 2/5.
Same train of thought there, definitely, because that increases the amount of spells that you really want to be recasting. If it's white or green, it's pump spells, which they can see coming, so they're a lot less valuable the second time around. All right, we got the Bloodthirsty Adversary. 2 mana for a 2/2. This is that same mythic cycle. It has haste, so it's already, a good creature here without any of this nonsense text. When it enters the battlefield, you may pay 3 any number of times. You may put a +1/+1 counter for each time. Then exile up to that many instants or sorceries with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard, copy them, cast copies of them without paying their mana cost. So kind of nice. It's again that scaling card that we see a lot of, one of these in each color. This one's pretty interesting because I think it's got a more powerful ability, but it's not an ability that you necessarily can utilize every time if you don't have a ton of cheap spells.
Yeah, I'm taking a quick scan just through red, for example, and I'm seeing like 3 red burn spells that this hits, like a threaten type card. The unfortunate thing is you're not getting any. Usually when you say you may cast this without paying its mana cost, but it costs you 3 mana to get that ability, and you can only do 3 or less. So you're getting card advantage, you're not getting any mana advantage.
Definitely. 4.5 minutes, hang on. Someone started freaking mowing their lawn. Sorry about that delay, guys. Stupid mowing lawn people. All right, so I think I said what I was going to say. Did I cut you off, Yanks?
No, I mean, I was at the end of a sentence, but I mean, I can pick it back up where I was.
Sounds good.
So you're not going to get any mana advantage at a Bloodthirsty Adversary, but you're getting card advantage, if you have anything in your graveyard, just like all the rest of these Mythic 2-drops. They're 2-drops that scale up in the late game, so they're good early, good late.
Definitely.
It's not an outright bomb, but it's a very good card.
I think so. Again, I like that it gets better the later it goes. Getting to recast your stuff is fantastic. Makes potentially your flashback cards cheaper. Nothing not to like. I think this is like a 4.
Yeah, I've got it as a 4.
All right. We have the Brimstone Vandal, 3 mana, 2/3 with Menace. It's already above filler. If it's neither night or day, it becomes day as Brimstone enters battlefield. Whenever day becomes night or night becomes day, deal 1 damage to each opponent. That's interesting.
Yeah, I'm mostly judging this just on its base rate and menace. Pinging somebody is nice, but because you're only going to ever be able to do that once per turn, it's not something that stacks. It has to stay on the battlefield for quite a while for that to really have a big impact. But it's a nice bonus for something that's already on rate.
Yeah, I think it's a little above rate personally, and then you are getting that little bit of a bonus. A 2/3 Menacer for 3 is decent. I think that's not a non-useful key text keyword.
Yeah, no, it's definitely playable on its own, and the bonus is nice.
Yeah, you're at like it's 2.5, I'm guessing.
Yeah, 2/5.
I'm 2/5/3 depending. I think that 2/3s I think are going to block very well. And like I said, I just value plain keywords a little bit higher than you do, I think. Burn Down the House, 5 mana for a rare sorcery. Choose 1. Burn Down the House deals 5 damage to each creature and each planeswalker, or create 3 1/1 devil tokens. Whenever the creature dies, it deals 1 damage to any target. They gain haste until end of turn. I like this.
Yeah, this is basically your red type sweeper that deals damage to everything, but is also a card you can actually play if the sweeper part isn't useful. Like sometimes sweepers are dead cards in your hand.
You're just
ahead
ahead
on board.
Yeah,
This keeps up the pressure, and just from previous experience with devil tokens and other sets, they're far more annoying than they look to deal with.
Yeah, and we did see a card that gives Death Touch, so you can give it Death Touch, kill their big thing, and then shoot off and kill their other thing, which is pretty spicy. I'm always a big fan of that play in Limited. Is this just, it seems better than just regular premium removal. Is this like a 4/5 for me?
Yeah, I think so. Hitting Planeswalkers is nice, just another way to deal that on the rare occasions that comes up. And those devils, especially with haste that first turn, they can deal a lot of damage very quickly and make for very awkward blocks.
All right, moving on. Burn the Accursed. We have a 5 damage, deal 5 damage to target creature, 2 damage to that creature's controller, and then if that creature would die, exile it instead, so that's a good way to kill the disturbed creatures. It's instant speed, which is really nice. A lot of times 5 damage, 5 mana spells or sorcery, like we saw with the last rare card, and it's pretty common to see like 3 colorless red for a sorcery speed. So at common, I like this. It's pretty nice.
Yeah, 5 damage for 5 mana is kind of the going rate.
Yeah, it's better than what we typically see in the common slot because it's instant speed and it's doing a little extra plus playing around those disturb cards. So I mean, this seems...
the exile clause is certainly relevant here.
Yep, I'm thinking this is a 4. I mean, I usually don't like the 5 mana removal as premium, but this has enough upside, I think, that it's relevant.
Yeah, I think I'm still a tick below that at 3.5, just because these do get far worse in multiples.
That's true.
But still a very good card.
The format's also a lot wider than we typically see, so these types of 5 damage spells are just going to be a lot weaker in general. You don't want to be investing so much mana into killing like a 3/3 as opposed to the taller formats. Agreed. All right. Cathartic
Next up.
Pyre, 2 mana instant. Choose 1, deal 3 damage to target creature or planeswalker. Discard up to 2 cards, then draw that many. Ooh, I like this. This is good. Holy smokes.
Yeah, this card is great. This is one of those cards where I just kind of question a little bit the modal. It's like, 1 out of 20 times you're going to cast it for that second?
It's just bonus flexibility, though. I feel like if it was 2 mana, 3 damage, instant speed, I'm still giving that a 4.
Oh, absolutely. And I don't mean to say that takes away from the card. It's just like, it's kind of weird. It's like completely unnecessary text, but hey, I'll take the bonus.
Yeah, I mean, if you're way ahead and you're wanting to close out, or if they have a 4/4 that's going to kill you and you need to dig for something better, I mean, I could definitely see this being a thing sometimes.
Yeah, I said it's only extra upside.
Yep. So just a 4 for premium removal.
Yep.
All right. Curse of the Forsaken Faith, 2 mana. Aura Curse. This is the red enchant player. Whenever enchant player casts a spell, other than the first spell they cast each turn, Curse of the Faith deals 2 damage to them. So this just prevents them from ever casting a second spell, basically, unless they're taking a decent amount of damage.
Yeah. Not a huge fan of this card. Obviously, that damage can add up, but it just feels like it doesn't do a whole lot. You know, it gives them the opportunity to play around it.
I feel like if you are not playing this on turn 2, then it is just a huge downside because they've already played out most of their hand and their cheap spells. This feels like maybe a sideboard in against day-night decks. Right? If they want to be controlling, they want to draw stuff. But for the most part, I don't like it.
Yeah, I can see a spot where you sideboard this in, but maybe play this if you're incredibly aggressive, because you may be forcing them to put in a spot where they need to double spell in order to try to catch up.
That's true. Yeah. It just makes it, if you're the aggressor and you put this on them, it's like, okay, you cannot stabilize. It punishes them for stabilizing, right? Which could be that extra reach that you need. I do like that, actually.
Yeah, that's probably the only spot. Although, again, sometimes in those really aggressive decks, I might just rather have a 2-drop.
Sure.
But that's the spot where you're going to see this card in those really aggressive decks.
All right, I'll let you go.
All right, Electric Revelation, 2 and a red instant. As an additional cost to cast the spell, discard a card. Draw 2 cards, with flashback for 3 and a red. So it's like a Tormenting Voice, which is usually at sorcerer speed, so you get 1 mana more expensive for an instant, but more you're getting that extra cost because it has flashback.
Yeah, so you get to do it a little bit more, which is definitely nice. And these cards are always fine. I feel like they're 23rd playable cards. They often get cut. But they are nice when red starts to run out of steam. You get to like refill your hand, and because you're getting to do it twice, it makes it a little bit more worth it, I think. Because you get to pitch your land late game, redraw, and then you run it back one more time, and that definitely could be enough fuel to finish the job. So I like this one a little bit more, I think, than I typically do, especially at instant speed, but they're still like, you know, sometimes situational on whether or not they make the cut. What do you think, Yanks?
Yeah, I agree with that. The flashback is nice because it actually turns this card into card advantage instead of card neutral. Because the first time you cast it, it's 2 for 2, but the second time you cast it, it's, you know, you've already gotten, you know, value out of this card. It's really just, you know, 2 for 1 on that second time.
Yeah, even when I am in that aggressive red deck, I don't necessarily always look at it as card even. It is technically, but it's like you don't really need 5 lands, right? Oftentimes 4 is really like your cap, or you have like 1 5-drop or something. So you're always going to get an extra land out of that. So I usually don't mind it as basically just getting to redraw that land that you know you're going to not need. So this is like a 2/5.
Yeah, I think that sounds about right.
All right. Falcon Wrath is a vampire 2/1 for 2 mana. When it attacks, deal 1 damage to defending player. It's a vampire, relative card text. I mean, 2/1s aren't great.
No, it's an aggressive card. You know, you're going to get through for 1 no matter what, and if you're on the play, it means you probably get in for 3 the first time and then at least 1 the next time and force a trade. So it's nice to get that little bit of extra chip damage there.
Yeah, I feel like you need to have a fair amount of cheap removal to make this like worth it to me.
I think you need cheap removal, or you want to be in that black-red deck where you're having the black cards that care about them taking damage that turn, because you get a guaranteed trigger with that.
That's true. Yeah, if you do have those, that's true. I like that synergy.
But this is just your standard, marginally playable 2-drop. There are decks that
a 2.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, moving on. Falconrath Pit Fighter, 1 mana, 2/1. For 2 mana, you can discard a card, sacrifice a vampire, draw 2 cards, activate only if your opponent has lost life this turn. Wow. So it is card neutral. You sack a creature and discard a card to draw 2 blanks off the top of your deck. I mean, if you're making vampire tokens and you're pitching your lands, it seems like could be pretty good value, but I mean, those are very situational things that may or may not be good. I like a 2/1 for 1 mana though. That's nice and aggressive.
Yeah, that's the part of this card that obviously stands out for me. It's just a very aggressive cheap creature that's going to see play in red.
Yeah, it's kind of unexciting, but it is nice that like if you are this aggressive to where you're playing a 1-drop and you want to be really pumping out that damage, you're likely to get to use that ability. You have to sack a vampire, which is kind of, but it also does mean that once they brick this with their 3-drop, that you can then just redraw them, right? Sacrifice a vampire.
The unfortunate thing is that it's specifically vampire, so you can't sacrifice those decayed tokens we saw.
No, yeah, that's why I was saying vampire token, but it counts it itself, so you could pitch a land late game once this is blocked.
Yeah, that's for sure. You can also, it works nice with the card we just saw with Falcon Wrath Perforator. It attacks, it deals 1, and then if it's going to get blocked and eaten, you can sacrifice it.
Definitely.
Because the 1 damage has caused the trigger to go off.
3?
Yeah, just for its rate alone.
Great. I'm going to just try to keep us moving along.
Yep.
You're a lot more talkative today. All right. Famished Forgers, we have a 4 mana 4/3. When it enters the battlefield, if an opponent has lost life this turn, add 3 mana. You can pay 3, discard a card, draw a card. I like that. And it's a vampire. I like this a fair amount, actually.
Yeah, I'm okay with this card. I think sounds like you're a little higher on it than me, but it's a fine rate for 4/3. It can pay for its own ability, which is nice.
It actually, 4 mana 4/3s are a little bit bigger than what we're seeing in the format in general. It's going to brick a lot more things on your opponent's side of the board. Plus, if you are the aggressor deck, you play this on your turn 4 post-combat, and you're just getting to pump out more stuff. And then you pitch all of your lands later once you've hit 4. This is premium in the aggressive deck. I want 2 of these in my top end for every aggro deck.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, I like this card a fair amount. I'm going to give it a 3.
I think 3 is reasonable.
I'm going to let you take this one.
Fangblade Brigand, another 4-drop, 3 in a red for a 3/4 human werewolf. It has Daybound, and you can pay 1 in a red, and it will get +1/+0 and first strike until end of turn. And then you can flip it to Fangblade Eviscerator when it becomes Night, which has Nightbound. It's a 4/5. Has the same 1 in a red ability, giving it first strike and +1/+0 until end of turn, but you also pay 4 in a red to give your whole board +2/+0 until end of turn.
It's a pretty nice, I mean, it's expensive for a team buff, but I mean, having it built in like that is pretty spicy. Makes combat really awkward for your opponent. I
like red aggressive cards that have those big mana sinks, because sometimes you do get flooded in those decks, and this can at least give you something to do with that mana.
Yeah, I think it's a decent rate on the front too. It turns on your day-night bound, which is often pretty useful. And then casting it for, if it is night already, casting it for 4 mana for a 4/5 that does, some stuff on its own, gets first strike. That's impressive. If you're not even having a big board, if it's the only creature and you're casting this on night, 2 mana for +1/+0 and first strike on both sides is just really powerful. 5/5 first striker for 4 mana.
Yeah, trying to block this card on either side is no fun at all, because the turn you first get to attack with it, you should be able to activate it at least twice as long as you have the second red source.
Yeah, this is pretty good. I think this is like a 3/5 for an uncommon.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm happy with this card for sure. Festival Crasher, 2 mana, 1/3. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery, Festival Crasher gets +2/+0 until end of turn. It's a little devil with a pumpkin on its head. I like this.
Yeah, it's a good card.
It's filler.
This is the sort of... It's filler, but there could be a deck, that has enough flashback stuff that cheap flashback cards like the 1 mana blue spell with flashback, or even stuff like Abandon the Post, where you can get something that is all of a sudden huge through.
Yeah, there is going to be a deck that is more inclined to run this. I think it's okay playable in any deck. It makes combat really tricky for your opponent if you have any mana open because of instant spells, but for the most part, I think it's just going to be fine filler in the average deck. 2?
2, but keep an eye on this if you have a lot of spells.
Definitely. Flame Channeler. It's a 2 mana 2/2 human for 2 mana. I think I said that. When you cast a spell and control... When a spell you control deals damage, you transform. Interesting. So this is transforming outside of day-night. Oh. This is the first time we've seen this, right?
No, we've seen it. We've seen a few of these. Anything that's not a werewolf on the front side is transforming without day-night.
When a spell you control deals damage, put a flame counter on this. Remove a flame counter. Exile the top card of your library. You may cast it this turn. Huh. This is sweet.
Yeah, I really like this card.
Yeah, for an uncommon, this card is really awesome.
Particularly that it's just the spell you control deals damage and not like deals damage to a player. So you don't have to like waste a burn spell throwing it at an opponent. Just removing a creature with a red burn spell triggers, the first part of either side of this card.
Yeah, once you get to the backside, it feels really good. I mean, this could just be kind of a brick. If you've got 1 or 2 burn spells, like you're gonna play it regardless. But if you have 1 or 2 burn spells, getting to flip it into a 3/3, the bear is fine. It's a scary target. It's likely to kind of lightning rod, eat some removal, just because it is kind of scary. It's a great curve filler, and it just gets better. I think this is like a 3/5, and then it obviously is a little worse if you don't have the spells to back it up. It's a fair amount worse, but I don't think it should be too hard to have some good stuff. What do you think?
Yeah, especially in Best of 1 where they don't know that you only have 2 or 3 burn spells, so it is going to be that magnet for removal, like you said.
And it's just a bear, so it's fine.
Yeah. I'm in the same spot as you.
All right, I'll let you do this one.
Next up is Geist Flame Reservoir, 2 and a red artifact. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, put a charge counter on this. Pay 1 and a red and tap it to remove any number of charge counters from Geist Flame Reservoir. Deals that much damage to any target. And then 1 and a red, tap, exile the top card of your library. You may play that card this turn. I love this card. 3 mana, even ignoring the beginning of the part, just a 3 mana artifact that let me, in red particularly, that let me effectively draw a card every turn for 2 mana.
Yeah, I was trying to
I'm
find...
already happy.
The first clause, I was like, okay, whatever. Like, kind of slow, right? Like sorcerer, what was that? Wizard enchantment? Artifact. The wizard artifact that did something similar where you built up counters, you could remove them to blow something up. Felt like that.
Oh, yeah.
And then I read the bottom, I was like, whoa, where's the downside to this? The bottom is really where this is at.
Yeah, I mean, this is a card that immediately on your next turn, has an option to replace itself by exiling the top card. You may play it, not cast, so you can get lands off of it.
That is key.
And then just over time, if you've just played some spells like you happen to, eventually you're going to build up a couple counters, and then you get a free removal spell for a turn.
I mean, in any red deck, you're pretty happy to just draw a card for 2 mana every turn.
Yeah.
This seems great. This is like a 4?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, I like this card a lot.
We haven't seen any, other than that one white card, we haven't seen any main deckable artifact removal yet, so.
Harvest Tide Infiltrator, 3 mana, 3/2 with Trample and Daybound, turns into a Trample 4/4 for 3 mana if it's Night. That seems good. That's pretty powerful as well. For only a common. I mean, 3/2 Tramplers are nothing to write home about, so you're not really going to get any good value unless you can like turn it into Night. But that doesn't seem like it's going to be terribly difficult.
Yeah, it's a very simple card, but powerful. You know, I'll take this card in any red deck.
Yeah, this feels good in the aggressive deck for sure. If you can't flip it, I mean, it's a 2. It's not anything exciting. I will say it's a human werewolf, right? So it's got both those key terms, which is kind of nice. I haven't really been paying too much attention to the werewolves that they say it. I kind of assumed it was a human on one side and a werewolf on the other, but this definitely makes sense.
Yeah, and the good thing is you want it to be on the night side, which is very easy to flip. You just pass the turn and don't play anything.
Yep. This is like a 3?
Yeah, I think I have it as 3.
Immolation, 1 mana. Enchant creature gets +2/+2. Very aggressive. +2 -2. Never mind.
That's exactly how I read the card at first until I just looked again. I was like, oh, wait, this is a removal spell for 1 mana.
Yeah, this is not what I thought that was. But also in a pinch, it works as a pump spell too. If you've got like a 3/3 and you're getting the beats in and you're ahead. I like these sort of flexible abilities on the equipments I've seen before. This is not like an uncommon thing. I always think these are pretty great. And there's actually a lot of X2s in the format that are worth killing. So I'm happy to run this.
Yeah. Also kind of nice is that you can play this on, since it's cheap, you could play this on an opponent's werewolf that won't kill it, but probably be able to double spell, and then when it flips, it might die because it's an X2 on the front side.
Yeah, definitely. I will say, like, don't hold out on this hoping to suit up your own creature. Like, I would much rather kill something with this, just because you don't want to risk getting 2-for-1 quite as much. But if you draw it late in the game and you're ahead, then heck yeah, just throw it on and get this smash through. I like it. This is like a 3?
Yeah, I think so.
All right. A 2/2 for 2 mana with an ability. 4 mana, target creature can't block this turn. I mean, 4 mana is kind of a lot, but it's a nice thing to have if you're filling your curve.
Yeah, this is probably the weakest, I think, of the 2-drops we've seen so far, but you're still going to play it because it's still a bear, and the ability can be relevant, but that's really expensive for red decks.
So I actually kind of like it. You want to be curving out with a lot of 2-drops, right? So you have a lot more room for 2-drops that are not necessarily super good quality, because you're going to want to be running 6 2-drops in this aggressive red deck that we're seeing. So I feel like that is not necessarily a problem. And when you are in that aggressive red deck, having this as like a nice finisher on board to push in that last little bit of damage that you are struggling with once they've stabilized is going to be a really nice thing to have access to. Kind of like it.
Yeah. The one thing I don't love about it is we've seen so far, it feels like this format's going to be really wide, so it's going to be hard to actually force things through with this.
That's probably true. Yeah, it's going to be great against like the green-red opposite side werewolf deck. But you're right, this won't be very good against tokens.
Now, it could force them into bad blocks to stay alive, but you also probably spent your entire turn then doing that.
Yeah.
So as I said, it's still it's on curve, 2 mana, 2/2. It's on rate. The ability is only a bonus, so there's nothing wrong with the card.
Yeah. I gave it a 2/5 just because I felt like that ability was good enough for that half-point bump, which a lot of filler 2s don't actually have for me. But you're right, it is such a wide format. Maybe it's not that much, but it is.
I have it as a 2. But you're not going to be upset playing the card.
It's also a wolf. I wish it was just like a werewolf that didn't transform, because that's probably going to be a more relevant keyword, right?
Yeah.
Light Up the Night. A X red sorcery. Light Up the Night deals X damage to any creature. It deals X +1 instead if that target is a creature or planeswalker. Oh. Wait. To any
X damage to any target.
Yeah. And then X +1 if it's a creature or a planeswalker. So this is just a fireball. They printed a fireball?
Yeah. It's just an X burn spell.
But that goes face.
Yep.
We haven't seen that in a while. Late game, you're just like, take 8, suck
yeah, that's
it.
true.
What the fuck? I
I guess
don't want
it
this
has
in the
been a while
format.
since we've seen that.
And it has flashback. Wait, what?
Yeah, it doesn't really have flashback for limited because you have to have planeswalkers.
Okay, good. I hadn't got that far yet. I was too busy like losing my damn mind.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So it doesn't have flash. I was like, oh my gosh, you just take 5 and you just take 6, and then what?
Yeah, it has flashback in constructed. It does not have flashback in limited, really.
I mean, I'm still playing this. Holy smokes. If you're ahead, you just finish them. If you're not ahead, then you just kill their best thing for a decent rate. And I'm mad.
Yeah, I don't really care about the flashback being bad. It's a great card.
I'm going to give this like a 4-5.
Yep.
The flexibility to go face is just amazing.
You know, play it for 2 to kill a 2-drop. You can play it for 9 to burn them for 8. Like,
I know I'm going to be at 8 life and just die and be really upset a lot. That is going to happen.
That's why you play counter spells.
Lunar Frenzy X and a red. Target creature you control gets +X +O until and first strike and trample until end of turn. Trample and first strike is pretty spicy.
Yeah, I actually like this combat trick. You could even just play it for 1 and
and
give something first strike and win a combat.
Yeah, that is a lot of key words for 1 mana. First strike, trample, 1 mana, I'm in. Plus there's like a chance where they just like tap out to like play a bunch of dudes to stabilize, and then you're just like, haha, for 5, take it, and then they're very sad.
Yep, and obviously this card is great with anything with Death Touch.
Yes, definitely. I think this is pretty good. It's a great thing for how aggressive red is seeming to be. This gives you that extra reach that we like to see in red. So, I mean, this is like a 3.
Yeah, it's between a 2-5 and a 3 for me, just because it has the inherent risk of all combat tricks of getting 2 for 1. But this is a good one.
Playing your combat tricks slowly is a thing I think that, like, is something that's like one of the harder things to learn about being an aggressive, like where you have to figure out that line that you have passed where you're like, okay, this is no longer good EV for me to play this here. I should wait, or like, you know what I mean? That I think this is definitely the kind of card you have to wait on until you know you've got a really good spot. You don't want to just like cast it to get in a little damage.
Yeah, I agree with that for sure.
Moonrager Slash, 3 mana, instant speed, costs 2 less to cast if it is night. Deal 3 damage to any target. I'm in. This is like a 4.
It's Lightning Bolt.
God damn it, Yanks. This is why people want you to have a YouTube channel. Someone in the comments asked for your YouTube channel. You should just do things like that on YouTube. It would be great. I would watch. Moonvale Regent, 4/4 flyer for 4 mana. I'm in. It's already amazing. Whenever you cast a spell, you may discard your hand. If you do, draw a card for each of the spell's colors. Whenever you cast a spell, you may discard. Okay, yeah. So you just cast the last spell in your hand, and you get to draw a card or 2.
Yep.
When it dies, it deals X damage to any target where X is the number of colors among permanents you control. So 2-ish damage in limited?
Yeah, likely 2. This is one time where a couple of those werewolves we've seen that have different color back halves could matter. But yeah, I mean, this card is incredible.
Yeah, I mean, it's just going to kill people on its own, even if it has no other text. A 4 mana 4 for flyer, whatever. And it has some like really good redraws. It doesn't do anything if they remove it right away, but because it's so cheap, I think we can, err on the side of it gets some beats in. I like this card. Is it a 5?
I think so, because if they kill it right away, unless they exile it, you're going to get to deal likely 2 damage to something, which might kill, a permanent on the dies clause.
Yeah, so you get a little bonus. Plus, if you're ever drawing any cards off of the cast ability, then you're really happy.
Yeah.
This is Close. I don't think this is quite as strong as the 5s we've seen before, so like I'm tempted to go to 4/5 just because it might not kill. Like, what if this is your only card? Or you have like a white, only a white thing and it doesn't actually kill their thing. So it's like not great if it gets removed right away, but it's fine. And it's probably just gonna beat people anyway.
I think I have it as a 5 just because you're right, there are no scenarios, but it's only 4 mana. It's so efficient.
It's super, yeah. I think it's so cheap that's why I'm just fine with it being vulnerable in that way. Because usually if you have a big scary bomb like that, it's costing you 6 mana.
Yeah.
And so you are hesitant to give it a 6 just because you've invested so much time into getting it on the board. Or a 5, I mean. Okay, 5 mana, 4/5, 5/4 Trampler. Shh, I fixed it. When it enters the battlefield, put a +1/+1 counter on it if your opponent has lost life this turn. So it becomes a 6/5 for 5 Trampler. It's fine.
Yeah. Even the 5/4 Trampler, if you don't get the counter, is fine. Like, not a bomb, not amazing, but I'm not unhappy with it.
It's also a vampire, which is relevant. I mean, I am never happy about it, but a lot of formats do have 5/4 vanilla 5 mana things that I do play sometimes. So this is just quite a bit better than that. 3?
Yeah, I think it's a 3.
Excellent. Neonate's Rush. It's an instant for 3 mana. This spell costs 1 less to cast if you control a vampire. Okay, 2 mana. Deals 1 damage to target creature and 1 damage to its controller. Draw a card. Oh. Well, there's a crap ton of 2/1s, several 3/1s, lots of 1/1 tokens. I mean, this is like, to me, more sideboardy, but the fact that it replaces itself means it's pretty minimal risk. So even if you are using it to like trade up on a creature and then this replaces itself, it's not that bad. Feels like a 23rd playable card in any deck, and I want a bunch of these on my sideboard.
Yeah, I agree. It's very low impact, but against the deck full of X1s or a bunch of tokens, being able to replace itself, it does trigger all of those vampire. If an opponent lost life this card turns, or this turn cards. So there are some synergies there, but yeah, I think you're mostly sticking this at the end of your deck or putting it in the board.
Obsessive Astronomer, 2 mana, 2/2. If it's neither day nor night, it becomes, when this enters the battlefield. It becomes day when this enters the battlefield. Okay, so it does the thing. It turns on the day-night board state. When it becomes day or night, discard up to 2 cards and draw that many. So it just lets you loot away your stuff on a bear, which is good. In red, I like this. We don't really want more than 5 mana anyway, so all of your other lands you then get to redraw. Fine.
Yeah, I like that it's discard up to 2 cards, so you can discard 1. Yep. If you have other cards you want to keep. I think also you wrote this flavor text about yourself.
About me? That does sound like me. Does that look like me? Is that what my face looks like? We're about to see. No. We're about to find out. I said I would take my glasses off, and Duck is Angry did donate, guys. So that you guys, I'm literally about to look like this. You see those eyeballs? That's gonna be me.
I don't think you have that missing tooth though, so you're all right.
Technically, I'm still $50 short, which we weren't supposed to hit. It was supposed to be a joke. But I feel like there's a reasonable chance I'm gonna have to go put my contacts in. And I'm gonna be pretty sad about it. 2/5?
Yeah. I'm there with you.
All right. I'm gonna let you take this one.
Pax Betrayal, 2 and a red sorcery. Gain control of target creature until end of turn. Untap that creature, it gains haste until end of turn. If you control a wolf or werewolf, scry 2.
Well,
so your threaten effect with a bonus.
Normally these are not very good, but there is a lot of sack outlets in black. Holy fuck.
It's a lot of sack outlets, and there's a lot of wolves and werewolves.
There is a lot. I feel like we are just going to do red-black sack again, like we did in the last format.
Yeah, everybody's not tired of that at this point.
So this actually feels better than it was in AFR. Am I wrong?
I tried to block that card out of my memory, so I'm forgetting exactly.
Well, I mean, AFR, it was just enough to where it is good. Like, the sack outlets are just good enough. Whereas, like,
oh, sure.
I feel like we've got more sack outlets and they're better than they were in AFR. And then there's just this card at common again, which is the same thing.
Yeah, the sack outlets in AFR were pretty good.
Yeah, well, there's like the 2-1, which sometimes does the thing, and sometimes it doesn't do too much. And then there was the uncommon one. But now we've got the removal that you can, like, shoot things off. We've got the 7/6 Menacer. Like, there's just oodles.
You had Deadly Dispute as well in AFR.
Yeah, Deadly Dispute. That's
which is
true.
nice. I think the real key, which we haven't seen in this set for sacrifice decks that AFR had, was a free sack outlet. One that didn't cost more mana to sacrifice the creature.
Maybe. Still feels bad.
But, I mean, I think this card is going to be good, and I think that deck is going to be a thing again.
God damn it. 1/3?
Much to a lot of people's chagrin.
1/3?
Yeah.
Great. I mean, awful. Damn it. All right, play with fire. 1 mana, deal 2 damage to any target. If a player is dealt damage this way, scry. This is just a better shock.
Yep.
Great.
Strictly better shock.
3?
Yeah, it's a 3. Yeah, you're always playing this card and several copies of it.
Terrifying Dragon, 5 mana, 4/3 flyer. When it attacks, it deals 1 damage to target creature defending player controls. If that creature is a zombie, it deals 2 damage instead, which just kills all their little dudes. Wow, this seems good.
Yeah, 5 mana, 4/3 flyer is good on its own. This will kill some stuff.
It'll kill most things in the format. Like, there is a shit ton of 1/1 and 2/2 tokens. There's a ton of 2/1s and 3/1s, and a ton of 3/2s. Like, there are very few creatures so far that, I mean, we haven't gotten to green, but in most colors, like, it's a higher percentage, I think, of X1 and X2s than we've seen.
Yeah, we have seen a lot of small creatures in this set. I will agree with that.
This is just great. This is a 4?
I still have it a little lower than that. I have it at 3/5. It's that being at a 4/3 instead of a 4/4, where we've seen multiple 3 damage removal spells, makes it vulnerable to pretty unfortunate trade down in mana for 5 mana.
Yeah. Unless they're just in Selesnya, and then they just do nothing, and you just wipe their entire team and beat them in the face. Great.
Oh, they wipe their entire team very, very slowly. It only pings 1 thing each turn.
That's enough for me.
Which is weird, because that fire looks like it's killing everything.
Yeah, I feel like all of the 1/1s should die if they were in that fire. That's true. 1 mana instant, choose 1, destroy target artifact, or target attacking creature gets +2/+2 till end of turn. I like this for flexibility purposes. 1 mana instant to +2/+2. That's going to kill some stuff.
Yeah, I'm trying to take a quick scan through what we've seen so far to see how many artifacts we have that are
black
non-rare.
Equipment.
Yeah, I'm looking to see if there's stuff that's not at rare.
I don't think so. There's only 5 equipments, and I didn't see, or artifacts, and they didn't look good.
Yeah, the mirror, the black mirror is at uncommon.
And then there's like the little doors and stuff that draw cards and do stuff. There was like 1 in every color.
Yeah, but at least it is nice that you could just play this and not have to worry about not having a target, as long as you're aggressive enough.
I feel like an aggressive deck is really happy to have a 1 mana +2/+2 spell.
Yeah, I agree with that.
So this feels like a 2/5. It's like a 2 and a 2/5 in that aggressive deck.
Yeah.
I'll let you take this one.
Reckless Stormseeker, 2 and a red for a 2/3 human werewolf. At the beginning of combat on your turn, target creature you control gets +1/+0 and gains haste until end of turn. With Daybound.
We did just see
and
that front side, right? From AFR?
It didn't give haste.
Oh, this one gives haste? Okay, yeah, that's good.
Valor Singer.
Yep.
On the back side, we've got Stormcharge Slasher, 3/4 werewolf. At the beginning of your combat on your turn, target creature you control gets +2/+0 and haste, and also trample until end of turn.
This is a spicy 3-drop. Mini Christmas. I mean, it's not like winning the game on its own, but holy shit, if you are that aggressive deck, this is just a lot of cherries.
Yeah, this is the weird red aggressive card that probably doesn't actually attack that much, because you just let it sit there and start throwing every card you cast each turn with haste into things, so this doesn't die.
Yeah. Or you're in that weird situation where, like, you're on the play, you play a thing, they play a weaker thing, you play this, and then they, like, play something also weak or whatever, draw cards, whatever, and then you remove something, and then you're just off to the races and you can just pile into them. Especially if this thing flips.
Yeah, this card is very good. This is an immediate, like, must kill if you're playing against aggressive deck.
4?
I think it's a 4, yeah.
I think if you have the aggressive deck, it's going to be higher.
Yeah, on the flip side, if you are in the rare red, like, controlling deck, maybe a red-blue, it will be slightly worse. But still very good.
All right.
Ooh,
Seize the Storm. We have a 5-mana sorcery spell. Create a red elemental creature token with trample. Its power and toughness are equal to the number of instants or sorceries in your graveyard, plus the number of cards with flashback you own in exile. Okay, so it counts those, and then you get to do it again. Okay. Similar to a Serpentine Curve in Strixhaven, but you get to do it twice. Costs 1 more.
Yeah, and nicely comes with built-in trample, which is a big deal for these cards, because the idea is getting this big, huge thing late game.
I mean, this is going to be a split rating card, any way you look at it. The average deck has, like, 5 spells.
Well, maybe your average deck.
Factoring in all of the different color combinations, that does not include blue.
And my red-black decks have, like, 12 spells, too, because I kill everything.
Obviously, red-black, too. Those are the 3 spell colors, but if you're in green and white, you don't tend to have a ton, because combat tricks usually aren't worth playing.
Definitely true.
And then also, of the 9 to 12 non-creature spells you have in your deck, a lot of them are equipments or enchantments or whatever, so maybe. Come on, Yanks.
No, this is definitely a card meant for red-blue, and to lesser extent, red-black.
Yeah. I like that it doesn't punish you for them being flashback cards. You actually get to continue to use those.
Yeah, that's been a trend they've started to do recently, starting with, I hate that I can't think of the name of it, the Drake from one of the Ravnica sets recently that counted spells in exile.
So I think this is kind of a split rating card. I like it.
Yeah, I think so.
2, 2, 5. What do you think? Or 2, 3, 5 is what I meant.
Yeah, okay. I agree with that. Plus, it's, the nice bonus of letting me count a spell as a creature, so I don't have to play those things.
Hate you. 4 for 2 mana, Smouldering Egg. It is a defender. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, put a number of ember counters on it equal to the amount of mana spent to cast that. If the Smouldering Egg has 7 or more ember counters on it, then you may transform it, and it turns into a fire-breathing monster. 4/4 dragon. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery, deal 2 damage to any target. Ooh. And that's a lot of build-up for this egg. 7 mana worth of spells. That's not that hard. If you've got some premium removal, it feels pretty good. 3 mana removal, 4 mana removal, we're in business. And then if you have more spells, then this just goes pew 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 a bunch. And we're definitely playing this in most decks.
Yeah, again, this is very similar to the last card in the sense that your red-white, red-green decks are going to want this way less than your red-blue, red-black decks. But the fact that it's especially for red-blue, the fact that it's just an 0/4 wall to start with is useful.
Shock plus deal 4 damage. Yeah, it's true. And it says any target, so like you could like burn their creature, shoot them in the face. Like, it's a little bit more flexible in that way that you don't have to shoot a creature. So you could just pile that on to make small burn spells kill bigger things, or you could just use your black spells, kill their thing, punch them in the face, hit them for 4, and then call it a day. So card seems good. I mean, there's definitely be some decks where you can't flip it from an egg and you're not going to want it. But in the average deck, I think it's going to be still amazing.
Yeah, I agree. I'm having tough time trying to figure out exactly where to rate this, because if you can get this flipped reliably, I think it's a 4 or better.
Yeah.
But
I'm going to give it a 4. And then just write that, like, if you don't have spells, it's not a 4.
If you don't have spells, don't play this card.
All right. I'll let you take this one.
Spell Rune Painter, 2 and a red for a 2/3 human shaman werewolf. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, Spell Rune Painter gets +1/+1 until end of turn. With Daybound. And the backside, you have Spell Rune Howler, 3 to 4 with the same ability, except it's +2/+2 instead of +1/+1 until end of turn.
Makes combat really awkward. It's at rate as is if you flip it reasonably often. Yeah, this is just a big beater for the aggressive red deck. I like this. It's got prowess plus.
Yeah. Again, this is like the third card in a row, right? But better in those spells decks than not. But the fact that this one only, is reasonable rate anyway, especially if you can get it to the backside, means the aggressive, like, red-white decks with only a few spells will probably still be okay to play it.
Yeah, I think you're playing it in any deck, even just for the idea that, like, when you're ahead or when you're behind, even if you don't have the spells to back it up, your opponent doesn't really know that. So, like, you just keep this back, and it's hard for them to attack into you with their 3/3 just because, like, they never know, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's for sure, yeah.
Like, that bluff value, I think, is just there. This feels like a 3 to me.
Yeah, I agree.
And any deck, even ones with low spell counts, are going to have enough to make this, it's not like a rare 2-card combo in your deck. Like, you're going to get some benefit out of it.
Yeah, and what's the worst case? You have a 3-mana 2/3 that sometimes is a 3/4. That's fine.
Ugh, look at his eyeballs.
That is creepy art.
All right. Stolen Vitality, instant speed, 2 mana. Target creature gets +2/+0 till end of turn. If it is your turn, that creature gains trample until end of turn. Otherwise, it gains first strike until end of turn. So this weird wording is for blocking or EDH stuffs. So yeah, if you're on the attacks, you get trample and you go in, but if you're blocking, then you can first strike. I wish it was just both or one or the other. It just seems weird. A lot of times I want to attack into first strike too.
Yeah, that is kind of bizarre, the way they formatted this card, but it's fine. The fact that you can use it defensively is nice, and first strike is a great defensive ability, so
yeah,
I'm okay with this card, but not thrilled.
Yeah. I feel like I would just rather it be first strike on both sides, day and night, even if you can just get rid of the trample.
Agree with that.
Yeah.
But trample does let you sometimes steal a win out of nowhere.
That's true. It does, but not very consistently. It's sad for the aggressive decks where I would like to remove their blocker and keep my creature around, kind of thing. Whereas, like, okay, maybe I get 2 chip damage in, but my creature still dies and I'm sad.
Not very consistently. Seems like kind of like the reason I hate Run Amok.
3/3 is way different than 3/1, okay? Way different.
It is different.
Super duper different. Oh my gosh. My creature always survives when I cast the Run Amok.
Yeah, that's true.
Doesn't need the trample or the first strike. I mean, this card is fine. It's probably a 2. I'm going to play this. Yanks is not.
Yep.
Sunstreak Phoenix, 4 mana, 2/4 flyer, which is way worse now that we know that there's a Shock Plus in the format. If it is neither night nor day, it becomes day as the Phoenix enters the battlefield. When it becomes night or night becomes day, you may pay 2. If you do, return this from your graveyard to the battlefield tapped. Woo! Yes, please?
Yeah, this card seems really good, and anything like this, like most mythic phoenixes we see, having this return to the battlefield clause makes it a little bit better. That it makes it a little bit less of a problem that it can die to shock.
Agreed. Yeah, I like that it's coming back. There are some cards that remove things from graveyards, so be a little careful. If you have no way of controlling night and day yourself, really, then it's probably not as good. But I like this card. Is this a 4/5 or a 5?
I think it's a 4/5. I don't think it's quite on the same level as some of the 5s we've seen.
I agree. I think this is sort of like the 2 black cards that we gave 5s were outstanding 5s, whereas this and the other dragon are a little bit more on the questionable side for me. I like that this actually does a thing after it gets removed, whereas like the dragon just kind of dies. They're the same mana cost, same power.
Yeah, the dragon's harder to kill, and I think I would give this a 5 as well if we hadn't seen so much just incidental exile to graveyard stuff.
Yep, there was a lot of that, and shock is just gross.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Daybound, 2/5 for 4 mana, and when it turns nighttime, this becomes a 6/5. Ooh. 6/5 for 4 mana.
Yeah, I think this is one of the worst of the werewolves we've seen, but it's still fine.
I feel like it's a really cheap backside. So I feel like this is one of the werewolves that is not evenly balanced on both sides, but the backside is way better for that mana cost than the front side. So I think it's probably roughly the same for me. It's just where that power is distributed is a little bit different than what we've seen. Most of them seem like at rate on both sides, or at rate that gets slightly better. This feels below rate gets much better.
Yeah, I think I tend to like them better when they're more balanced, particularly because in this case, you're going to want the backside, especially if you're aggressive. But if you're aggressive, you're also going to be wanting to play multiple spells in a turn, which is going to send it right back to being a 2/5.
I agree. I like him a little bit more balanced myself as well. I was just more devil's advocate there, saying like
Sure.
The power is there. If I'm casting this for 4 and it's night, it happens to be nighttime. Hooja, Jiminy Christmas, it's gonna be a big beater.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like a 2/5, 3.
Yeah, I was about a 2/5, and not just for the power and toughness.
Oh, this is a reprint. I like this deck. So the spells deck is just getting better and better. The 0/3 for 2 mana with Defender. Tap, deal a damage to each opponent whenever you cast an instant or sorcery untapped. So you're doing guaranteed 1 damage per turn. It's a decent blocker against the tokens and the nonsense. And then each time you cast a spell, you're just speeding up that clock just a little bit, which is really nice. I like this deck. I would happily draft a deck with 5 of these and a bunch of spells and be very excited and giggly.
Oh yeah, this card is great in that deck. I think they tried to like trick us by sticking all of these spell payoff cards at the end of the alphabet. It didn't look like we kept talking like red, blue. There's got to be spells payoffs, and it didn't seem like they were really there. And then
we didn't see any of the blue, really.
Yeah, we got a whole bunch of them at the end of red.
Yeah. So 3.
And it's a 3, but a 3 in that very, very specific deck.
Yeah. I mean, it's probably a split rating card, but like I like this card enough. I'm just gonna give it a 3. All right, Village Watch, 5 mana, 4/5 haster with Daybound. When it turns night, it becomes a 4/5. Werewolves you control have haste. Okay, it's a little expensive, but it's nice if you have a lot of werewolves. I think if you don't have like werewolf synergies, it's a bit underrated for me.
Oh, definitely. But this is one case where it's nice that the front side of these cards are werewolves as well. That they will also have haste and Village Reavers.
Yeah, because they are human werewolves. We made note of that in the beginning there, where it's not like a human on one side, werewolf on the other, punishing you for having like the thing. Although, if that's not necessarily true, because this would only matter if it was night, and you would be flipping into the werewolves anyway. So I guess it's roughly the same.
Sure. Yeah, that's true. Actually, I didn't think about that. You're right.
Yeah, because they would just get played as werewolves is the only time it's relevant.
It would be just the backside, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, this card is fine. It's a bit underrated. It's going to be like a 2/5 in the average deck.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
And then maybe it's a 3/5 if you are just like chock full of werewolf goodies.
Yeah, I think if you've got enough werewolves, it'll go up.
5 mana for a 4/5 on the backside. Still not exciting.
No, but 5 mana, 5/4 haste, I'm a little happier about because you're probably getting a decent hit that first time.
That's true. If it is already night and you cast it, yeah. All right, 3 mana, 2/2. When it enters the battlefield, if an opponent lost life this turn, deal X damage up to 1 target creature or planeswalker, where X is the number of vampires you control. Cute. It's got a little bit of a bonus pew pew there. And this isn't a synergy that's going to be hard when you're in the vampires deck, because you've got access to some flyers, you've got access to some drain, which we see a fair amount of. This is fine.
Yeah, and I think you only really need one other vampire to be happy with the trigger. You know,
yep.
As you said, we've seen a lot of low toughness creatures in this set.
Definitely. 3?
Yeah, I think this is a 3.
It's going to go down if you're not in the vampire deck, clearly. We're not playing this in green-red werewolves, but if you are doing the vampire thing, we're happy. All right. Voldaren Stinger? 1 mana, 1/1. When it has first strike as long as it is attacking. For 3 mana, you can get +2/+0 until end of turn. We see this a lot, like a similar pup a few turns, like with Kaladesh. There was a 1/1 first striking pup that had a very similar pump cost and effect. They're always fine. They're great in the aggressive deck. I want to cast this on turn 1, attack, or 2, or whatever, attack on 3, threaten the pump, have them not block with their 2/2 or whatever, and then play the card we just saw, right, on turn 3. Like, that's really going to be where you get them with this aggressive vampire deck, and they're both, one's common, one's uncommon, but like that's the play.
Yeah, the threat of activation is what matters here, not actually activating it.
Yep.
It just forces them to make bad decisions.
Well, or they make a good decision, but then get punished for all of your vampire drain mechanics, which is just...
Yeah, bad decisions wrong. Hard decisions is more what I meant.
Yes.
Tough decisions.
So normally I'm not a fan of 1/1s because they just don't feel impactful enough, but I think this is good enough for multiple reasons. You know, card type, make sure you get those drain mechanics in when opponents have lost life that turn. It definitely enables all of those cards. And it's just a 1/1 that scales and gets better, becomes a beater mid to late game that they just can't really deal with. It doesn't say you can only activate 1 turn, so, you know, you're 8 turns into the game. This still feels fine on the battlefield if you're not behind.
Yeah, I think I'm still only really looking for this in vampires, or maybe in that red-white deck, just because it's a very aggressive card.
2/5?
Yep.
Huzzah! We're done with red, and it was only an hour and 2 minutes. This is our shortest color yet. All right, guys, thank you so much for watching. Leave us a comment down below. Let us know what cards you think we got right or what cards we got wrong, and I will see you in the next video for green. Have a good night, guys. Thanks for watching.